that come back from a disaster are around 40%. So we lose a lot of businesses through a disaster. So yeah, because they're going in seat of the pants and they don't know what's going on. What to do.
Up a little. I can see the people in the back are putting on their jackets, and even I. It's a little chilly, isn't it? I think the aircon is on. All right, are you with me? Hello? Everybody found a table? You will need to clear out the middle of the table. Please take one of the pens. Please, you will also need the Post-it notes in the middle of the table. It's supposed to be a big piece of paper so everybody can see it. Here's how, let's do it this way. When you're ready to proceed, turn and look at me, and then I'll know you're ready to proceed. Yeah, you may have to remove some stuff. There's a coffee break coming presently, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
As soon as you're done.
By the way, if you want coffee, it's all right. Go get it. All right, here's what we're going to do. The morning session, up until lunchtime, we're going to talk about impact. And in the afternoon, after you've assessed the impact, we're going to talk about opportunities and strategies for dealing with that impact. I did a lot of homework for this thing and discovered that there's quite a lot of discussion about what you can reducing your own impact, but there's very little discussion or advice that I have found about how do I deal with the impact on me or on my business of climate change, and that's what we're going to do this morning. There are 4 sections. You have 2 of them in front of you now. The first one is infrastructure, and I think you can see that infrastructure, I've broken it down. There's water, electricity, sanitation, communication, and transportation, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Now, your assignment is you're going to take a Post-it note, you're going to pick a color, and the color key is on the right-hand side of the chart, in case you forget what I'm saying. High impact is red, low impact is green, and the colors are in between. Okay? You're going to write your name or your company name on the Post-it note when you put it down, and that's so that when we get all the Post-it notes on there, you can remember who said what. What do you believe that the impact of climate change will be on water infrastructure? What do you believe the impact will be on electric? And I realized after I put electricity on here, I maybe should have made it energy, because after I heard Brenda this morning talking about having gas, I went, oh my God. So is the gas utility in the room? Have I offended somebody? I have, yeah, okay. I apologize profusely. You can cross out electricity and write energy if you like instead. Right?
On the microphone.
Because the same goes like transportation, communication. By communication, I mean the cell phone and the internet. Okay? Now, let me give you some examples in order to get you into the thing. What is the single biggest use of water in the United States after agriculture, which is 75% of water goes to grow stuff? The single biggest use of water in the United States, what is it?
To drink?
Sorry?
To drink?
No, and in fact, potable water is like less than 10%. The single biggest use of water is to cool electric power plants. That's the single biggest use. So, if we don't have water, electricity is going to be an issue. I can tell you. And you may, if you have a utility person at your table, you may want to ask, can they use salt water, seawater, instead of fresh water, right? Because you will quickly want to see if you can do that, and I suspect that the answer is no. One of the greatest risks of sea level rise is that the drinking water in the coastal areas will become too salty to drink, because seawater will infiltrate the potable water supply. Sea level rise will damage underground utility pipes. Electricity. There are 280 plants and refineries along coastal areas in the United States. I did not have time to look up how many of them are in New Jersey, but I bet a bunch of them are, right? That will be affected. Think in your head, Fukushima, right? Right on the coast, right on the coastline, right? In this case, so we're not talking about earthquake, we're talking about flooding. Power loss is an obvious issue. In communications, remember that Verizon had 2 switches in the basement of the World Trade Center, right? So when that disaster struck, you lost communications as well. To the extent that your communication lines are above ground and the utility poles fall over because the ground becomes too moist and they can't support it anymore, that's an issue. To the extent that those communication lines are underground, you would also lose them, right? Now, in each case here, you're being asked, do you think that's high, that climate change and flooding will impact electricity high, medium, and low? Red, orange, yellow, blue, or green. And when you put your answer down, you write your name or your organization's name on the Post-it note, and you can put the Post-it note anywhere you like on the table. But the most important part, Debbie will kill me if I don't emphasize this, on the impact table itself, why did you think that it would be high, medium, or low? What is it that you were concerned about? Now, I would, each of you can write on the table, write on the chart in your own handwriting if you like. I believe you will discover that some people have better handwriting than others, speaking as a person who has miserable handwriting. So it may be that you want to designate a scribe at the table to write the answers on the thing so that they become readable. When we get all done here, you have 10 minutes on infrastructure and you have 10 minutes on people. When you get all done, we're going to paste them on the wall. We got tape and we got easels, and each table is going to pick just one thing to share with everybody else. When I say one thing, that is, we talked about this, and the thing that stood out was we all agreed that the biggest impact would be in sanitation. And here's why we all agreed that. More likely is we talk like crazy, and I don't know what's the matter with the other people at my table, but we couldn't agree on a single thing. But the issue that caught our attention that we wanted to talk about most was X, right? This is not a show and tell. This is trying to make sure that we get through the day in 3 hours. So I can only give each of you one thing to talk about. What was the one thing that you learned or thought was most valuable? With respect to the people section, I have given you sections, I have given you different kinds of people, starting with employees and customers and stakeholders. What's a stakeholder? A stakeholder may be a shareholder if you're a public company. It may be an investor if you're a venture capital funded startup. And it may be, in fact, if you're a small business, a sole owner and proprietor, your family is a stakeholder, isn't it? I mean, if your business goes to hell, the family is affected, right? And at last, I think as I was thinking about that, I think that most important for a small business owner, speaking from my own experience, is your family, right? If your business is flooded, what is going to happen to your family? If your kids can't go to school because the road to the school is wiped out, that's going to affect your ability to do business, right? To go and do work. So the idea here is, I don't want you to think about likelihood. I want you to assume that it's going to happen, that the sea level is going to rise, that the occurrences of flooding are going to increase. I read a report before I came that said New Jersey can expect in many coastal areas up to 80 high water flooding incidents per year from now on as a result of increased sea levels. I assume it's going to happen. Which ones of these things are you most concerned about from a business perspective? Right? You with me? And I see, can somebody hold it here? These people are not wasting a lot of time. This is exactly how I want it to look. Right? Now, you'll notice that I can't tell whether this one is water or electricity or communication, and you may want to write that on there if you're going to end up with a table like this. Right? If you think that the impact is going to be the same on all of these infrastructure. Just put down one post-it note. My guess is that most of you will think water is going to be more important or be affected higher or lower than sewage than sanitation or transportation. Please note that transportation includes road, rail, airports, and marine. Both LaGuardia and Newark are in floodplains, 50-year floodplains. So you can expect in the next 50 years that you're going to be swimming to the airport instead of taking a taxi. All right? Everybody get it? Put your name on the post-it note. Write your reasons on the table. I will give you 20 minutes on this, 10 minutes on each one. I will give you warning. The idea is to talk to each other. Off you go.
I've never been under a deadline like this in my life.
I personally think the impact is high across the board for everything. I mean, I personally rely on communications, which is affected by energy, and it's a trickle-down effect. But with the way that transportation was affected during Sandy, and the fact that Amtrak is suing its insurance carriers for $500 million, huge impact on sea level rise. And with the water rising, we got water backup, we got sewer issues, drainage issues. It contaminates our fresh water. I mean, across the board, major issues across the board. I mean, that's mine. So there's no blue.
The question I just had was, do I want you to rank them priority? No, not at all. It is possible for you to think that they're all high impact and you're going to use up the red pad of colors on the table. It is also possible for you to think that they're all going to be blue or green or something, right? That's okay with me, right? This is not a ranking exercise, but you may have ranking in your head.
So if we're not ranking, I'm going high impact across the board. But it depends. Everybody's business. You don't rely.
No, seriously, you did not with the Bob Truck joke.
I had to because I didn't know they still made them.
I've never understood why they did.
I grew up with Brady Bunch and Hamburger Helper. I'm just saying I'm from the Midwest and we're proud of that.
So, the middle, that's interesting. So, before Sandy, I got it. So, okay, here's a list of things.
Business in New Jersey, the FBI. I'm gonna get some water with the Army because I found out you gotta make things happen on your own.
I mean,
you got good stuff there. I mean, what you're doing.
catch this. See, we're running out of red post-it notes. They're gone.
It's going to be small to medium business.
No, actually, we're trying to make a point. This particularly works for us.
He's got 3,000 people working in IT, making sure that he's on the ground. This guy here is
my importance.
Yeah. Doing is put together.
Like, I mean, that's why the networking is very important, and
You can solve your issues probably easily. If you say you have technology that's of interest, don't go to the government.
Well, you have to have them approve it or they can't use it on the projects.
Well, then go.
The roads are flooded. People won't come to work if I don't have water at our facility or they don't have water at their home, running water. We went for days and many days without showers. People were sleeping in our facility. We had water. If we didn't have water, our whole operation wouldn't work. We worked our way around, can have electricity, and if I can get everybody there, I pick people up and drop people off. Sanitation's a whole other story. We had people going to gas stations and Burger King to go to the bathroom. That was prior to our current facility. But anyway,
They say that they're a policy.
I guess only if
of emergency.
What are different posts, right?
We did contract staffing, so there were, and high-level contract staffing, there were across-the-board companies. You didn't come in, you didn't get paid.
Logistically, wasn't elevated high enough because, just as you said, they didn't, their floodplain that they lived about was not their actual flood.
They're 100-year.
You know what? Honestly, granted,
your private property?
Same instructions, put your name on a Post-it note, pick a category.
Can we do this one as a collaboration, or
If you like, yeah, absolutely, that'd be great. Absolutely.
What did you say? We're supposed to pick a?
You pick a color for your
we have to come
Post-it
to a
note,
consensus
put
on
it down and say,
color?
do you think that the impact on schools in your community, and bearing in mind that each of you is from a different community, will be high, medium, low, whatever the color is, and why? If you have a school that's on the coastline, I went to high school on the coastline, that would be an issue. Hospitals in most disasters are called on to provide more services, but in the case of flooding, may be in fact unable to respond. Is that an issue where you are? Law enforcement in a disaster, the uniformed authorities are called on to respond, but they themselves may be affected, and I can tell you stories about this in New Orleans. Parks, recreation, libraries, that public infrastructure, City Hall. I don't mean necessarily the electricity. That's not, in fact, public infrastructure. That's private infrastructure.
Like roads and bridges? And
Yes, exactly. And private property, right? If you have a lot of rich people in the coastal community, that's going to be a big issue. And finally, as a result of infrastructure, people, and your community, I want you to narrow it down to your own organization. And one of these categories represents each, your business fits into each of these categories. If you're not in manufacturing, I don't expect to see any here. If you're the SBA, I expect to see you here. If you're
We got three
the Subway sandwich shop,
government.
if you're a Subway sandwich shop or a car dealer, you're in pointing to the charts. Here's what we learned, or here's what we didn't learn. Here's what we argued about most. Here's what we spent the most time on. I don't care what that is. I want everybody to hear what happened in your table with me. And you just pick one person to do it. That is 1 minute, and then we're having lunch. You with me? All right. Okay, discussion time is over. May I have your attention, please? This is really good. I used to get detention in school for having a loud voice and interrupting, but it turns out there's some benefits in it later in life. Okay, so if you look around the room, the purpose of using colored Post-it notes is that you don't have to know what was written on the note. You can look around and see that what people generally thought. We have the people who love the red Post-it notes kind of up here in the front of the room. So what we're going to do is now, the only thing between you and lunch is each table, it has a spokesperson. Excuse me. Each table has a spokesperson who is going to stand up and share one thing, not one thing for each one of the 4 segments, one thing that you learned, you didn't learn, that you argued about the most, the insight that you got, the subject on which you spent most of your time, whatever. I don't care what the one thing is, but we only have time for one thing, so make it a good one. And I'm going to give you, if I tell you 1 minute for each one, I know you'll take 3. So I'm going to tell you 30 seconds. So you'll take a short period. This is not a book report, right? This is what we thought. And we're going to start right here. We're going to go around the room this way in order to eliminate arguments. And this afternoon, when we do this again, we'll start over here and go this way. No, you may try to move as long as you can get the consensus and get everybody to move. That's the job of an emergency manager. Off you go.
Whatever she says, we're going to do.
And if you'd like to stand next to your charts and point, that's fine with me. Off you go.
Story. Make sure they know it.
Please.
Okay, so if you were to look at our 2 analysis, impact 1 analysis and an impact 2 analysis, you'll see we're one of the pink people. I think that one of the things that we learned was that there was many avenues, if not almost all these avenues, that there was more than one person that experienced that there was major impact from flooding and coastal event. And that a lot of it also would occur as to where you were located personally, as to how much impact you might have thought those particular items had. Ones that were further from the coast or didn't experience as much loss or flooding or direct impact from that, saw impacts but didn't maybe didn't feel it had as required a pink, that, you know, it'd be further down the line, because you see that we do go down all the way to the blue, and there are some greens. So a lot of that, you know, was from our own personal experiences, and the ones that were closer to it had where everything was impacted, because those that were closer during Sandy, which kind of gave you an impact of when utilities are down, when supplies can get through, when things are flooded, when people are displaced, you would see that everything fell apart. So that's kind of our analysis, that your experience was a large part of how much impact you put into it.
Which is why I asked the question this morning about, do you think that the public ought to pay for private impact? Do you think that the public authorities ought to be able to tell you to get out? Because that's the issue. How did you say it? The farther away from the impact area you are, the more open-minded you are on the subject? Of course, right? Which is why Las Vegas was a good example, because we're all, 100, now those people, well, they know. They support those West Coast teams, right? Okay, here we go. Thank you, that was excellent, just exactly what I want.
We basically had a consensus on the fourth area here on organization or company that was impacted. We all agreed that retail was most impacted because that is the food and fuel sectors that had the most problems in the post-Sandy.
Sorry, which sectors?
The food and fuel.
Gas stations.
Yes.
7-Eleven.
We could be a 7-Eleven with a gas station.
There you go. I understand. We had that too.
We have Wawa's.
Yeah.
We never thought Wawa's were that important until.
Oh, excellent. That's it. And is everybody at your table in retail? No.
No.
Ah.
Nobody is.
Very open-minded of you. Yeah, pretty good. Great.
Very good consensus building.
Exactly. Which is the whole idea. Okay, so excellent. What's going to happen this afternoon is you're going to build off this. Okay, well now that I know what the impact is, what am I going to do about it? So I'm going to be looking for ideas from retail from you guys this afternoon. Excellent. Okay. Back here.
We took our own hole there.
Sure, they picked the guy with the tie. They're trying to put on the dog.
Hello. Well, yeah. What we noticed right away was that transportation was our biggest impact. So we felt that if people couldn't get around, that lots of things just can't happen.
Primarily road transportation?
Yeah, road transportation. So if people can't move around, they can't go to work, supplies can't come in, debris can't go out.
Yep.
It causes
Big issue is that in many cases, many of the roads are also evacuation routes, right? And so if the water washes out the roadway and your evacuation route, you have a double problem, right?
So yeah, and we were very conscious about looking at it from the question about sea level rise. So not necessarily thinking of a storm event, but just having a higher water level.
Yes.
This would be thought would be the highest impact.
Good for you. Excellent. That I think they win the award for the most diversity of color. Diversity promotion. Are they good for that? Okay.
Hi, I'll be quick. I think we kind of petered out at the end and just started talking and didn't adhere to our color situation. But what we determined is through all the many municipalities, what their rules and regulations with regards to land use and the importance of voting. Because the municipalities all determine what our destiny is, and perhaps through initiatives with impact studies and with the upcoming election, that's what I thought I'd make that all about.
Did you say voting?
Yeah.
Good for you. Wow.
Because some people die for that, right?
None of this is going to get sorted out except at the municipal and governmental level.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we're the other risk-averse group. I sell insurance for a living. Well, what I want to point out here is
Namaste.
Our community, we spent a significant amount of time discussing the impact on the schools. So we started talking about the kids and the kids not being able to go to school. If they're not able to go to school, who's going to watch them when they're home and the parents should be or are supposed to be going to work or being told they have to go to work or they're going to lose their jobs? Then we also looked at it from the other standpoint that the schools become shelters. If the schools are impacted and are unable to function as shelters, where do people go then? So there's a tremendous amount of debate at our table with respect to what happens to the schools in our community should we have an issue. Thank you.
Can I just ask that, how many of you voted for schools as the highest priority when the question about hospitals, schools? How many over here voted for school? Yeah, okay. Are you a teacher?
No, I'm not a teacher, but I saw the impact of when Sandy hit and the children had to be displaced, and how the Mental Health Association are still trying to deal with the stress on the children.
Well, I'm really glad that you did it, because the schools is the greatest example I can think of the knock-on effects, right? If you lose power at the school, or you lose the foundation, or the building becomes uninhabitable, and the kids can't go to school, all of that cascades down. Transportation, you know, people get it. The bus drivers are either extra busy going to a new school, or they're out of work, right? It's that really, really, really good. Excellent. Okay, so I've actually got different insights from each group. So here's what's going to happen this afternoon. We're going to take the same 4 segments: infrastructure, people, community, your organization, and think about what does success at adapting look like to each of those communities. What does a school or a hospital or a government administrator or a property owner or a business owner, what does he or she think wishes would happen? And as a result of knowing that, what business opportunities can you identify for your own business? And think, it's facetious, but it's simple to remember, think Pop-Tarts, right? What are the Pop-Tarts in my business? What is the home delivery service of my business? That's what we're going to do this afternoon, because the goal is that you leave at 3 o'clock today with at least one good business idea that you thought of, or that somebody else thought of at your table, right? That would make your business bigger, stronger, faster, better looking, thinner, richer, whatever it is, and also made you more resilient to flooding and sea level rise, okay? But you can, the Army marches on its stomach, which I understand from Ben is, take it away, Ben. Stayed up all night cooking.
I was up all night cooking, so I have no voice today. Let me just give you a few directions here. Our lunch will be waiting for you right on the other side of this wall, which will be open in a second. It'll be a working lunch. Go in and grab yourself some food, sandwiches. There's soft drinks, soda, and so forth in there. The coffee remains down where you had your breakfast this morning, and we'll also have some desserts over there for you a little bit later as well. You grab your food, bring it back to your tables, respective tables. We'll give you a couple of minutes to digest, and then we're going to continue on with our presentations of the program so that we can keep on a time frame for you here this morning. So with that, we'll allow you to go over and grab yourself some lunch.
You can leave all this in place, and I guess you can eat on top of it.